It's been about 7 years since I've finished this project, so I think it's about time I do a video on it. This is my custom ATTE used by Clone Captain Rex, Wolf, and Gregor in a couple episodes of Star Wars Rebels. I loved it from the moment I saw it and I set out to make my own. I spent hours taking still shots on my TV so I could get every possible angle for reference. Fortunately, there were plenty in those episodes. This was a very long project, about 5 to 6 months. Before you ask, there was absolutely zero 3D printing involved. I did, however, make a lot of CNC cut styrene panels. Just to give you an idea how involved the build was, the large antenna was close to 30 separate pieces. Now, one of the first things I had to contend with was the size. In the movie, the ATTE is bigger to the characters than the actual toy is to the figures. So in some areas, a figure would have to actually duck to get under something where in the cartoon they would just be able to walk under it. And I think I was able to kind of split the difference on some of that stuff pretty well. One thing I definitely wanted to have in this was an interior. Now, in Rebels, all you really see is kind of like this command center with a computer, which I imagine would be in the center of the walker, and that can't be accessed on the toy anyhow. But I was more interested in making a living space. So the landing platform has a removable panel to access the inside. Here I have a rifle rack, a bunk with soft goods bedding, including a hand-stitched pillow, overhead storage. You have a kitchen area, table and chairs. On the wall, a trophy of a battle droid. There's even a med kit by the working rear door. Other accessories like welder and goggles. Has a fold-down ladder in back. Now, it can't extend all the way right now because the legs are hunched down a little bit. I ditched as much unneeded weight as I could on this, but it's still a lot heavier than the unmodified toy, and I actually had to glue some of the legs in place so it didn't collapse just due to all the weight. The top cannon is vastly different from your standard ATTE, and I probably had to scratch build about 80% of that. There were actually several Lego parts that were used on this and were just kind of perfectly suited for it. Mainly these ship pieces that are actually the same pieces used on the Lego ATTE, the grappling hooks that are on the end of it. I have a couple other various parts that are Lego. The cranes on the side actually pivot, and the part that makes them rotate is actually a Lego piece that's just been slightly modified. Since I made this, I've done a lot of custom vehicles, and this is probably actually the first custom vehicle I ever did, and I don't see how I would ever top it. Just the amount of time and detail and everything that went into this was such a massive undertaking, but I love it. All the little ladders, the railings are coat hanger wire. Same goes for the canopy support on the main gun. Those are coat hanger wire and using soft goods for the canopy. When we moved, this item had a tote all to itself, and it was very, very scary moving it because there's just so many fragile little parts. And fortunately, it made the move completely unscathed. All the little lanterns you see hanging off of it, all of those are little cut pieces of wood and then wrapped with the yellow vinyl. It may be a little hard to tell, but I actually had repainted the entire body so that everything matched the new parts and the original toy parts. And I also, of course, had to paint the orange leg. There's a cargo boxes underneath. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that little tour of my custom ATTE, and be sure to check out Kessel Run Collecting on Apple Podcast and Spotify.